I mean, to be very honest, and I've said this many times, is the gym ownership for me was never a mode for me to make money. It was always, I just liked owning a gym. I liked having a cool gym to work out at, and I liked coaching people. So it was fun for me.
Good afternoon, guys. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and we are bringing you episode 51 of In the Trenches. And what a better episode than to have someone who just wrapped up. And what I mean by wrapped up, not just gym ownership, but a brand new opportunity to get out of this fantastic state of California. Freddy Camacho, one of the OGs. I was looking back at some of my timeline photos and some just some notes in my journaling. And I think, if I don't have the date incorrect, I think I was at One World for my level 1 in January of 07. It was either January of 06 or January of 07. And,
it would have been January of probably 07.
Yep. Right.
Because 06, I didn't start until March of 06.
Yep. Well, right on, man. Congratulations for lasting and outlasting for this long. I know you just had a really passionate post you put up. I think it was last night, officially. CrossFit GFY is complete. But you've got a story that goes way back. I mean, we're talking even earlier than 2007. So, Freddie, brother, thank you for your time and welcome to In the Trenches.
Cool. Glad that I could be here. So
right on. So for those, I can't imagine anybody not knowing you, obviously not knowing your gym, not knowing China. I mean, you've got a storied past. Where would you like us to jump in? Maybe it's how you created the One World bridge into CrossFit, how you brought CrossFit involved, into your world. Do you want to start there?
Sure. I mean, like how I started CrossFit?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I mean, I've told the story plenty of times before where we started a fight gym basically, and I was doing a lot of our fitness classes with fighting techniques and fighting styles. And one day I was rolling around with our BJJ instructor, and he tells me, what do you do for your fitness? And he says, I do CrossFit. So I went home that night. I look at CrossFit.com and I just stayed on the site for a bit. I was on it for a couple of nights in a row, just checking it out. And I said, man, this looks really cool. So on March 28th, which was yesterday, I went to Home Depot and I bought these 4x4 posts, and I built a pull-up rig, just kind of figured it all out in my head with some galvanized pipe. And then I went to Sears and I bought a Weider rubber coated steel weight set. And I did the workout that day, the one that I posted last night, the one that was on March 28th, 2006. And I was hooked. And I was like a big time commercial gym guy, because even the whole time I was fighting, the whole time we had our fight gym, I was still going to 24-hour fitness, every day, also doing my bodybuilding style workouts. And I didn't step foot into a commercial gym again for, I think, years. And the CrossFit thing, just like I started looking at, hey, how do I get affiliated? How do I become a coach? I called CrossFit, and Andy Sakamoto called me back up. I remember that. And I went to that cert, and then I told the guys, hey, I want to start this affiliate, put it under my name and do this CrossFit One World thing. And one of our partners, who ended up not being with us much longer, was like, there's no way you're going to get people to pay for that. No one's going to pay to suffer. And shit, it took over the whole gym. You know what I mean? It paid the bills totally. So yeah, that's where my start started, man.
Think back to that. There was Friends of CrossFit listed on the right-hand border of the website. And then we started to see the word affiliates pop up. And there were, and then 20, and then maybe 30. And so for those that didn't read your post last night, you were the affiliate 89. And
yep, that's where I was sandwiched in between. I think I was sandwiched between Diablo and Oakland. I was sandwiched in between those two, I think.
Right. And for the longest time, that list used to be populated chronologically by the date with which we all joined. And then as CrossFit expanded, where or when did you feel like the takeoff, when you thought to yourself, hey, this isn't this small thing we're doing here in California? When did that kind of start?
I think that feeling came when they started doing the seminars almost every month, which was probably like later that next year. Because remember, they only did a seminar like once every blue moon,
Right.
And then when they started doing, they started like bringing people on board to teach the seminars and stuff like that. I was like, this thing is definitely taking off. And of course, I mean, like the first year of the CrossFit Games it wasn't huge, as you know. But shoot, by 2008, 2009, then that started taking off. And let's be honest, the CrossFit Games was a huge part of the growth of CrossFit.
Right. Right. So did you think to yourself ever, because I remember that one of the reasons why I respected a lot of the opinion and a lot of the context and the communication that was coming from you personally was that you did have at that time, and obviously all the way through all of the gyms, you've maintained full employment elsewhere and found the gym, correct?
Yeah, I was a full-time law enforcement, and I was, active. I was an active SWAT operator too. So, I had all those ancillary duties also. So yeah, I worked the whole time. So, I mean, to be very honest, and I've said this many times, is the gym ownership for me was never a mode for me to make money. It was always, I just liked owning a gym. I liked having a cool gym to work out at, and I liked coaching people. So it was fun for me. I didn't need the money, so I never had to run it like I needed money. And that went probably all the way until we just closed down yesterday. Like we never took a paycheck from GFY, which was lucky because we had a ton of cash reserves when COVID hit. So we were able to survive that way. So for me, it was just always about having a cool ass gym to work out at and getting a coach. You know what I mean?
That's unique, because I think a lot of times, particularly in the sector with which we serve, in push press, a lot of folks, the gym is their number one role, their number one source of income for themselves and for their families. But that doesn't mean there aren't individuals that don't have a primary revenue stream or a primary source of income, or at least a location that they're drawing against for benefits or drawing against for retirement. So that gave you a chance to be a little bit more, let's say, loose in how you ran operations. If you back at that, anything that you think of where you're like, man, I learned very quickly that I had to change the way I was running things, even though you were still full-time law enforcement. What were some of the early hiccups along the way? 08, 9, 10, 11?
Well, I think the real problem for me, like at One World, was there was like, I had 4 other partners, you know what I mean? And we were having the martial arts thing, and it wasn't making a ton of money because you got that many people to split up between, you know what I mean? You got your lease and everything else. So yeah, it just kind of started going bad. And you felt like some people weren't pulling the load that the other people were pulling. So, I mean, I learned a lot from that. Like, if you really ask me, like, one thing I'd freaking learn is try not to have any partners if you don't. And that didn't happen until China and I had the GFY together, just that was the first time in all the time that I've owned a gym that it was just me and her. And we got to run it basically like a club. You know what I mean? You got to be lucky to be in our club.
Left One World to go pretty much solo, but at least for the two of you to go off, like maybe only 3 or 4 years ago, right?
No, we left in 2000. I left in 2000. It was 2014. It was that first year that China made it back to the games after missing for 3 years. So I think it was 2014. And we became co-owners at CrossFit of Fremont. So we were there for 3 years. And like, I really thank Jeff a lot for bringing us on board and stuff like that. But I was always kind of, honest that, hey, at some point we're going to take off and do our own thing, right? This is like a pit stop for us. And then, we ended up a mile away, which I would totally not thinking that was cool, but man, we didn't have any problem. He's doing really well. We kept our membership small anyway. So, he did great. We were great. There's plenty of clientele for everybody. So it ended up working out. I didn't want to open up that hard. But out here in the East Bay, man, it's really hard to find a location and open up a gym. I mean, really hard. It took us basically, a whole year to find a place. And even then it wasn't an ideal place. It worked out, but yeah, it's really hard.
Kind of a right place, right time, and you're able to slide right in there and make it happen.
Yeah. And then what's funny is that I'm sliding right out, and the landlord is all, hey, you got to tear out all, like, I built the counter in there. I built the bench that separates the lobby from
Number one.
And I painted all the walls black. So he's all, you got to paint the walls back white. And I was all like, fuck. And he's all, yeah, there's no chance I'm going to get this rented out to another gym owner. And guess what? He's renting it out to some martial arts studio, and they're all, leave it exactly like it is. So I just got so lucky.
I know there's been a couple of gyms down here. I mean, if we go back, even just look at, and we're jumping ahead here, but if we look at how much COVID crushed the Southern California affiliate scene, I remember reading at one point in time, there were like 70 affiliates that just were done.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see that.
Done.
Yeah. I mean, literally, we had no income for 5 months, but like I said, a lot of things worked out. The landlord was really cool. He's all, hey, you don't have to pay me any rent, but he's all, understand I have expenses. So I'm all, hey, how about I just pay you half rent? So we got to pay half rent, and I'm not afraid to say it. Our rent, we're in a retail shopping center, so our rent is $6,200 a month, right? So we were able to pay him $3,100 a month. We got a couple of grants. We basically were able to get, and then once we started inside, only about 40% of our membership came back, if that. And we were able to get our cash reserves back up to what they were at COVID. So when COVID started, so we got lucky there.
So if you were to now think go the opposite direction rather than the clientele and the space size, who is responsible from One World to Fremont, and then obviously at GFY, who is responsible for any staff development or selection of coaches that you guys were hiring, or did you guys run the show 100% yourself?
Now we always kept it in-house. The whole time that we ever coached, I was the owner and making the calls. I've only had one guy that showed up and said, hey, I'd like to coach for you. Can I come in and coach a class? And I could use another coach. But everybody else came up, so they knew the way that we did our warm-ups. They knew the way the programming was. They knew how it worked, right? There was only one guy in all the coaches that I had that came on board from outside. But we developed everybody in-house, so.
Okay. And now if we flip from coach and staff development over to programming, I know that you have some great relationships with some other coaches. You have some good admiration for some folks that develop programming. I remember very early on when Wellborn started to create what was CrossFit football and then transition to Power Athlete. You guys had a great relationship with John. Who else? Who else do you respect in the programming community? Who else do you kind of admire and look to for insight or any help on the programming side?
Well, I'll be honest, like China and I started really, really getting into, the linear strength program, the stuff that we learned from John, and we incorporated that into the program. And we learned a lot from John, right? And then what was really cool was that China ended up training, and which means I ended up training too, but we were like with Hyperfit. She was with Hyperfit. She was, Amy and I was, coaching her for a little bit. Then she ended up doing training with Neil and doing the Hyperfit stuff. Let me get that back straight. So John was coaching her and Amy was coaching her. Then there was Hyperfit. Then she was Misfit for a while. And then of course, obviously she's finished up with Mayhem. So I think, and she's been doing all the programming basically since we left One World. So, wow. And that's where she gets, it's just an experience thing from her for all the different things she's learned from so many people. And that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? You should go out, try things and see what works for you and see how it goes. So she has a lot of heavy Mayhem influence, I think, in the stuff that she programs now for the gym. And very honestly, you can talk about constantly varied stuff like that, but when we were pre-pandemic and what we normally would have got back into if we were back to normal, if we had ever gotten back to normal, is a strength portion and extremely short metcons in the 12 minutes being pretty long. Yeah. So that's where we stay. And that's where she's always just programmed that way. And our members love it. So.
Right. Speaking of stuff that you've loved, let's go back to each one of those segments. Go back to One World. What was like the highlight for you? Biggest passion, biggest fulfillment? What did you love about that space or those people?
I really enjoyed just all the people that I love the blog. I'm not gonna lie, that was my platform to freaking kind of express myself and sometimes I wrote some stupid ass shit on there and sometimes I wrote some shit that was damn near genius, right? But that platform and it really people. There was a lot of following. I mean, that thing had like a 1 million hits. You know what I mean? So I mean, people were commenting on it. It was like, you know, before there was Facebook. So that probably was my highlight of One World. I mean, obviously the highlights are always all the people that you know coach over the years. It was a lot. You know, they come and they go, like just thousands and thousands of people. But I think that was the highlight of One World, and like, you know, there was a lot of people knew the gym. You know what I mean? It was like a place people wanted to go, so it was cool.
Yeah, you fulfilled a lot of other people's lives. You were the best hour of the day, or 2 hours the day if they hung around and drank a little bit after.
Yeah.
There was, you know, time to get to work and then time to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of partying at that gym, that's for damn sure.
I absolutely bet. So then how did you, when you branched over to Fremont, and that was kind of like a middle ground for you, think back to those times, maybe some lessons learned from that location, or maybe some of your biggest memories, some happiest memories from that location?
That Fremont was cool. I think Jeff was at a point where he was, you know, he'd been by himself the whole time. I mean, he was he was right, you know, right near One World. And, you know, we didn't out in this area that we don't really like all hang out a lot, right? There's not a lot of competitions or things like that. So I didn't really ever talk to Jeff. And when I was like, shit, what am I going to do and land on my feet? I'm not ready to open up my own affiliate right now by myself. And so I'm all, I text him. I'm like, hey, would you be interested on bringing me and China Boy? And he was just all, yep. Like right back, just snapped it back. And other times I remember I'd like text him about like hey, we're going to do this little in-house competition. Or are you interested? And I wouldn't hear from him. You know what I mean? So I think Jeff was just like tired and needed a break. And basically what happened was China and I came in and we were like, hey, we'll do the programming. We redid the whole gym, rearranged everything, put it back to a way that we thought made a little bit more sense for the layout, and kind of like took over. And he got to kind of like just backseat it for a while. So I like to think of it like, hey, we did him a solid. We gave him like a 3-year vacation, you know what I mean? Where he got to kind of chill out. And then when we left, now he's, you know, back into full swing. And but I had a lot of fun in Fremont. You know, it was a big gym, and he had a lot of members, and it was fun going in there and changing the way that they were doing their training, because we came in with this linear strength program that we had pretty much fucking dialed in, you know what I mean? And I remember even one of the girls like calling me over. She's like, hey, come here real quick. And I come over. She's all, you know, we just squatted last week. or no, she's like, you know, we just squatted earlier this week. And I was all, yeah, those are back squats. And today you're doing front squats. And we're probably going to squat twice a week for the rest of the time. You know what I mean? So like bringing that to them was a lot of fun.
Man, I love hearing that you had at least a place to transition into, and the knowledge you brought to them probably really elevated the experience those clients got a chance to go through.
I like to think so. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie, like China is really good at programming, but she's a much better even coach than I am. And not only that, she has this like memory, like she just remembers everything. So she'll start training with, you know, coaching people, and one weekend she already knows like, oh, you should scale this, you should scale that, you should be lifting this, you should do that. And she just, for everybody, and the clients just love that, you know what I mean? Did
either of you guys take on one-on-one clients? I don't know, does China have a stable of clients that she works with personally?
No, she's had it in the past, but you know, you gotta remember, she's basically a professional athlete, you know what I mean? So she's training like, you know, 4 or 5 hours a day and having private clients on top of that. You know, it's like her life is very she's very regimented. She like gets up at this time, she takes care of all the gym emails while she's drinking her coffee. She's at the gym at this time, she's working out until this time, goes back home, has to eat by this time, back to the gym to train, and then coach, you know what I mean? So to take on private clients on top of that, she could, and she could probably make a lot of money doing it, but she's thinking about doing that now. She doesn't really know. She's gonna have to do something because she knows she's gonna go crazy just staying home all day. So
no kidding, man. Okay, so then the last stop, GFY. So you had a chance to kind of go out and knock it out of the park. This is your third evolution of gym ownership. So it was really like on your own, the two of you build it how you want, develop how you want, run the program how you want. Each step of the way, obviously, you refined your processes and your systems, and then all of a sudden, 2020 shows up, and COVID hits. I know we're in this state, right? So I get it. I know how we got hammered county by county by county. What did you guys do? How did GFY respond to the demands?
Well, it was weird because so they closed down. Alameda County did our 3-week shutdown on the 17th, and then the night of the 16th, I got the word that they were going to shut it down. So I'm like, hey, I don't know what this shutdown's going to mean. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on, right? So I'm like, hey guys, we're going to cancel classes tonight. Go home and take care of yourselves, and get to the store and go buy toilet paper or whatever because it's all gone, right? So we closed down that night, the night before the official shutdown. And then the official shutdown hit. So we're all like, shit, well, we're shut down. Who knows when we're going to open up again? You could tell it was going to be longer than 3 weeks. So we continued out the memberships for that month. So everybody that like was paying us that month. And I'm all, hey, if they aren't opening back up on the date of the 3 week, which was like not March, but sometime in April, I forget what the date was. If they're not open back at this time, we're pausing all your memberships, right? Because I'm not doing this Zoom bullshit. We did some videos of home workouts with no equipment. And then we just started like kind of posting workouts on the blog like I always did, but basically with no equipment. So, but I'm all like, why am I going to charge people? Like, I'm not doing anything for you. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to go out and find your own fitness right now. We're not giving you equipment or a place to work out. So we canceled all the membership, and then we had zero income for 5 months. But not gonna lie, I freaking got so much cycling time in, and I got more working out myself, because I was only working at that time. I was only working 3 days a week here full time. So I had 4 days off. I didn't have to go to the gym. I didn't have to coach. I was like, oh, this is amazing. After 15 years, man, it's a long time to be committed to a gym. And then like now I don't have to post a workout every night. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, this is fucking weird. I don't have to post something right now. So like I said, it was hard on the business because the bank account took the hits, but we were comfortable. We never got into any jeopardy. We're like, fuck, what are we gonna do now? And the members just understood, like, hey, sorry, we're not gonna charge you. And I was glad when people came back, but then we didn't start like we had this cardio CrossFit class that was like, that a lot of people like to do. It was like kind of like a boot camp thingy. And we didn't bring that back. So that was a big hit on the membership too.
Right. So now, did you know, because obviously you started to make things a little bit aware, publicly at least, little bits at a time, that GFY would be winding down and then maybe there would be a move someplace else. Did you guys know that ahead of time? Did you make that plan pre-COVID, middle COVID? Are you at liberty to share like kind of where that decision?
No, it was like towards the end of COVID, towards the end of this I couldn't even say COVID because COVID's still fucking here. It was probably around, we were in Hawaii in December, and we knew that in November, like, hey, this thing's going to start winding down at some point where they're going to open everything back up. And at some point, the landlord's going to want full rent again, right? And so we're like, fuck, maybe it's time we like think about like, and China, the big game changer was China not being able to be on Mayhem anymore. So we didn't need this full facility for her to train at every day. We have a full gym at our house. We have almost everything there. You know what I mean? So we're like, if you're not going to be on Mayhem, and we're going to have to.
Can you speak to that real quick? I don't know. Is that
yeah.
What's the story on that? Was that her choice? Was that the team's choice? How did that happen?
No, they changed the rules. She had to live there, and we fucking ain't moving to Tennessee, bro. Yeah, sorry. Rich was ready for us to move there. We're like, no, man, and my wife is not moving there definitely without me. So sorry. And she was committed to do one more year. She wanted to do one more year, and they were going to try it again. But then when they changed the rules, so Scott couldn't be on the team. China ended up not being on the team. No, everything is totally cool with Mayhem. She's totally good. Matter of fact, she's going out there in a week or two to do the quarterfinals. That wasn't the plan. It's just the days that it happens to go hang out with Tasia and Haley and Rich and see everybody. So
right on.
Okay. We're good there.
I didn't know the date stipulations on when those rules went into effect or how they would affect the teams or, what the season would look like. I mean, you and I know they've things 6,000 times in the past.
Right. Well, when the rule book came out, there was like, that was the game changer. And then we just happened to be going to Hawaii. We've always talked about moving to Hawaii, and there were other factors like, Tesla stock took off. So I had the opportunity to spend some money on something in Hawaii. So we went out there and we looked at a place, and it's perfect. It's 400 meters away from Lahaina CrossFit. So we can like walk to the gym. It's like a mile from one of our favorite beaches and 4 miles from the beach where we got married. So it's like, it was just a perfect opportunity. And obviously we knew I'm not going to leave this job until September, because there's, to be honest, a couple more stock vesting packages that I want to get before I leave. But we came out and told that, the team that we're going to shut the business down shortly after that.
Right on, man. Well, I have loved watching the progression, not only of China as an athlete, but you as a coach and just you as a business owner. I miss the early days. I miss the banter online. I mean, I remember when it was 100 affiliates only, and you knew everyone only from online, and you could call people and they would answer the phone, and we could drive to Santa Cruz and we could hang out with Greg. And I mean, became good friends with Andy, and like, it just was a wild world then.
Yeah.
And here we're 21, and it's like the landscape is completely changed. Changed.
And it's still changing, because I don't know how, what the ramifications are of not just COVID, but then, all the stuff that happened with Greg and stuff like that. So some people left and some people haven't come back. Some people left, I think they left prematurely, and now they're trying to come back. And so there's that having to be done. So, yeah, we'll see how this all hashes out. I mean, COVID is still a real thing too. And it's not the reason why we shut down, but it played a big part in why we decided to shut down when we did. You know what I mean? Why I decided to move and all that. So
yeah, and it's there's no wrong answer. I mean, if we've got 15,000, 13,000 affiliates, every man and woman who owns the gyms have got to make their decisions in the best interest of themselves and their communities where they are in the country or where they are in the world.
Right. Exactly.
That's true. If you could pinpoint let's just do top two hardest learning lessons in your whole, let's say 15 years. You look back and say, man, I am never, ever doing that again. What do you think?
First thing I tell you, and China does this, and it's great. So you got to be firm and the same across the board on everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna lie, when we first opened up, we were all like, yeah, you want to be a member? Give me $50 a month. You know what I mean? Like, shit was sloppy. So you got to set those things in. And then the other thing is what China does, and it's really freaking awesome, is emails are like, she keeps everything is by email. We don't even have a phone at the gym. It's email only. Everything that she relays with the person, she keeps all the emails. So you get somebody who's like, oh, you never told me that I had to give you 3 days before I cancel. And then she'd be like, oh, look right here. Yes, he did. And you acknowledged it. You know what I mean? So that was like a big game changer. It kept things nice and simple. You know what I mean? But yeah, the big thing was when we first started. And then, and I wasn't the only one. Like, one of the other guys, one of the other members, he was like doing the same thing. Like, you guys can get this rate. You know what I mean? Everybody had different rates. This is a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's got to be hard to clean up at the end, especially if you're trying to move or trying to reinvest some cash back into the business. How about the flip side? Maybe top 1 or top 2 things that you wish you had the time for and would have liked to have accomplished or built or designed or created. Anything you missed?
I think I missed out on running a gym like a business and seeing how good it could have been. You know what I mean? As a moneymaker, and then selling it. You know what I mean? Like building it all that way, because I never had that need or that worry to do that. So I never, we never, like, I don't think there's ever a time where China and I were like, man, we need to make more money. You know what I mean? Ever. So. Right. It would be interesting to see, like, if I could be a good businessman or not, because I don't consider myself a great business person. Everything fell into place and everything worked out plenty. Right. You know what I mean? Not like I'm going to walk away from this gym with nothing in my pocket. So, but it would be interesting to run things like that, and maybe have it as your full-time lifestyle, just to see what it would be like. I don't know that I would want to, because I'm thinking that's like, the only thing I always thought, like, man, that's 12-hour days. That's 14-hour days. You know what I mean? Like. And I wasn't ready for that, and neither was China, honestly. But
man, all right. Well, then on the last piece, I mean, if we use this platform, the In the Trenches series, when we talk to gym owners, we talk to head coaches, we talk to certification directors, folks on the seminar staff. Our audience are generally gym owners, or those aspiring to be gym owners. If you could use today's platform to speak to those that are aspiring to be gym owners, what kind of lesson or wisdom or insight do you think you could probably provide that may illuminate for them something they may not have thought about?
Just that I want to give people a good time. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I think people enjoy gym, and China's the same way. You know what I mean? So it's like coaching to me, there is a huge, you do kind of have to know what you're doing, right? Like you do have to be able to recognize poor movement, be able to fix it, be able to scale something, but you know, you don't need to know all the big fancy words and like, hey man, the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone or whatever, you know what I mean? But I always consider coaching kind of like performance art. And and I think people need to always remember that. People want to go and have a good time, right? So that's something you want to make sure your clientele is having a good time, and they'll come back, and give them a good program also too to follow. And you got some responsibilities to make yourself a better coach, but make sure you're also
caring for the clients.
That they're entertained, that they're having a good time.
Right on. Awesome. Freddie, brother, I sincerely appreciate your time today. Congratulations on making from March 28th to March 28th, 2006 to 2021. That is a huge chunk of time to dedicate to your community. So, and from the law enforcement side, as well as from the health, strength, and conditioning side. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm still here, man. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be CrossFitting. I'm all good.
Of course. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.